This podcast and any written materials related to it represent the opinions of Lisa Kays and Paula D. Atkinson, and our guests to the show and any written materials. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. It is for informational and educational purposes only, and because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions. In no way does listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content establish a doctor-patient relationship.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to What If Nothing's Wrong with You? I am Paula D. Atkinson.
And I am Lisa Kays.
Hello. And this is Nameka. Hi, Nameka.
Hello, everyone. This is episode 4.
Episode 4, we're going to get into talking about couples, and not just couples, because couples are so millennial.
It's so binary.
It's so binary. We're going to talk about relational therapy and when and how therapists can make your relationship so much worse than they were.
Or better, but
they
can make it worse.
Sometimes they can just make it worse. But let's get into some chit-chat first. So Nameka brought this to our attention. Actress Rebecca Ferguson, who was in Silo. She was she in a Mission Impossible?
Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible.
Mhm.
And I know, and we know her from the first Dune movie. She was Princess Jessica. Yeah.
But
whatever.
Yes.
In an interview, talked about being bullied on set, which I think happens way more than we ever learn about, right? Yeah.
I would think it's rare if it doesn't happen, possibly.
Specifically to a woman.
Yeah.
I watched the video Nameka sent me. I love her being so specific. She wasn't specific about who it is, although we just had a very long conversation about who we think it is. I'm still team Tom Cruise. Because he seems like he sucks.
So you think she's saying it's not Tom Cruise because she's so scared of Tom Cruise in Scientology?
I think she's
like, it's extra, not him. Guys, it's
right. I mean, we all know what happens to Leah Remini. She's not stupid, right?
No.
Yeah.
No.
I also think it could be Hugh Jackman, even though she said it's not Hugh Jackman. Lisa, I loved everything you said earlier. Please say it again about what it's like to be around bullies and how this happens in organizations or any kind of, whether you're making art or you're making therapy or you're making anything, the bullies always seem to fucking win.
To live in your freaking house.
Yeah.
So I felt I love that piece because I felt like she had me energy.
Yeah.
Because I sometimes feel like I am the only person that will stand up to a bully. So first of all, we have to become aware that there are bullies in adulthood. I think I thought when I graduated from high school, middle school, we were done. Like, we're done, right? We're not. And for decades, I did not experience any bullying. I was not a bully. Nobody bullied me. I kind of thought this is like the past. I have had numerous situations recently where being bullied in multiple contexts. And what I have learned from those situations is that no one recognizes the bullying.
Yeah.
So the authority figures, like if you're engaged in a land dispute or like some sort of, the authority figures will be like, oh, you guys should just sit down and have a spaghetti dinner. Like, and there's no acknowledgement of like, these people are not playing fair.
Right.
They are lying. They are maligning character about like a land dispute or like, whatever.
Yeah. Right.
And it's been, so first of all, that no one will acknowledge that bullying has happened. They will want and this is very white supremacist. We want everything to be polite and nice.
Right.
And when you listen, especially to women talk in therapy, it's like, oh, I'm so mad at myself. I got mad. And because there is this expectation that we have to contain all of our anger.
Right.
While someone can unleash whatever. So what we saw with her, I watched Silo. Who was this woman? What is
Rebecca Ferguson?
Rebecca. She first of all, the entire cast watched her be bullied, screamed at, demeaned. Everyone watched. So as a group therapist, I've now had many opportunities to witness and study bullying dynamics because bullying happens is constantly the right word. More than you'd want, more than you think. In therapist group training and in therapy organizations. So it's not fun, but you can study it. So the cast watches her, and the reason the cast watched is that no leader, so the director,
Right.
the producers, no one stepped in and said, whoa, dude, you can't talk to her that way.
Right.
When that happens in a group, you are in an unsafe group.
Yeah.
If someone can bully someone else and the leader does not step in.
Right.
And because everyone else will go dead because they're thinking, did I see that? Did that happen? Like they're having their own process and they're going, well, the leader thinks it's okay. So I guess.
Right.
And this is part of why therapeutic neutrality, which is like the Bible of group therapy is neutrality, and couples therapy, which we're going to talk about, is very, very dangerous. It is dangerous.
Yes.
Harmful when you are dealing with bullies. It's so anyway, then she goes to, I think, the producers and was like, you guys, and they were like, no, we can't, because what happens is the bully is fragile. So they have to
that
protect.
is the definition of they are a fragile bully. The definition of a bully is that they are fragile.
Everyone in the room knows it.
Exactly.
So the producer's like, that guy has more financial value than you, status than you, whatever.
Right.
I gotta keep him happy. You're getting thrown under the bus.
Yep.
So now the system is telling her, and then I think she finally, was it a producer or the director who finally was like, you know what, you're right. But she had to, I think, scream, kick, and now good for her. This is the me energy. She's like, fuck it, I'm telling everybody.
Right.
I don't care.
I know,
because
there is an interview. Yeah, great.
But typically no one talks about it because the victims of bullying, this is the stuff I do, and people are always like I will go to the freaking press. I don't give a shit if I think, not because I want to like tell on you, if I think you need sunlight to calm yourself down, because bullies respond to status.
Right.
They respond to their reputations.
Power.
So it is you have to figure out levers to pull to rein them in. But most people won't. Most people are like, because you end up looking, what is it? The reversing perpetrator Darvo. So, you know, you work for, and there's something called reactive abuse. You end up looking like the crazy perpetrator when you're just trying to be like, behavior is nutso.
Right.
And her story is a great illustration of what can happen in very bad therapy groups. Not all, not the ones I run. Therapist organizations.
We've been in.
Oh God, protect that bully at all costs. Any behavior is fine. We all got to be kumbaya. And now the restorative he'll talk to you. Stop. I can't anymore.
That whole thing of like, well, but he's willing to have a conversation and talk it out. Okay, I don't give a fuck what he's willing to do. I'm not talking to this person. This person is harmful. Why would I put and that's the thing of women are always expected to put their safety and their peace of mind and their sanity on the line so that we can have a conversation with the bully. Absolutely not. Why would I don't want to do that. I don't want to.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
And then we wonder, related to couples therapy, why do people not leave abusive relationships?
Right.
How weird when you're being told like there's no support for that and we're going to undermine your reality, and you have to like therapy seems to have forgotten the lesson around teaching people when to leave.
Yeah.
What not to put up with. We have gone so far into kumbaya.
Right.
That it's like sometimes in couples therapy, you need to be like, I think there's like harm happening here. You want to keep doing this? And that is not generally taught, trained, and therapists themselves perpetuate this whole like, you're a bad person if you leave.
If you break up. Right. If you leave.
I mean, good for her. She set boundaries. I love her story. Good for her. She was like, no, I'm not doing this.
And I'm gonna shout it from the rooftops, and then I'm gonna lie about who the actor was, because for sure it was Tom Cruise.
Well, she wants to work in the business, so I understand why she's not
and Scientology is terrifying. Like they will murder you for sure.
Yeah, well, and I think that's such an important element, Nameka, about why people you're getting bullied. You're thinking nobody cares about me. I'm a piece of crap. There's so much else going into it, especially under capitalism, where people are like, I have a job to protect. I have to feed my family. I would like to be famous and rich. And so I have to, I mean, look at the Harvey Weinstein. I mean, it's like these systems, capitalism feeds. Was it you that was like, there's no ethics under capitalism?
There's no ethical decisions made under capitalism.
No, could be sitting there thinking, I agree with you. This is wrong. I want to stand up for you. and they literally can't.
Well,
and
yeah,
so
'cause
you
the
end up
producer
so
wants to make money,
isolated.
the director wants to, right? All of these. What about all the crew? Like all of these people's lives depend on Tom Cruise showing up the next day.
Yeah.
It's not. It might not be Tom Cruise, but it's like right.
You're gonna get us sued, and we're on week 2.
Scientology. I mean, I live in California. Scientology could be around the corner. I have no idea.
We don't actually know what we're talking about. It's not Tom Cruise.
It's not Tom Cruise.
Please don't come for us.
I do want to say, and I'm going to say this again when we talk about couples, and I'll probably say it every episode. But one thing that I've been thinking about, and you and I talked about, poloed about it back and forth, is I realized that specifically for women, when you are ruminating about something, it's because you're trying to make sense of something that does not make sense. You are trying to tolerate the intolerable. Because I think women absorb shit constantly and then ruminate, and then we get really upset with ourselves for ruminating instead of recognizing that the rumination itself is an indication that I am trying to absorb and metabolize something that I should not be absorbing and metabolizing. And you can see in Rebecca what she talks about it, that like I tried to make sense of it. I tried to but then, had the moment that I've seen you have, Lisa, in large organizations of like, oh no, I am trying to tolerate the intolerable. Absolutely not. This is not mine. As our teacher would say, this does not belong to me. I'm going to give this back to you.
No. And the only treatment, and this is something, and I think I said this maybe last time, but it bears repeating. The women writing about narcissistic abuse seem to be the only ones who, rumination is a symptom of narcissistic abuse. It's a great way to figure out who I'm engaging with. I mean, it's a pretty good corollary.
Right.
And the only treatment is to remove yourself. Now, sometimes you can't, in which case we do teach coping strategies, but anyone kind of telling you like, oh, I can teach you how to like not have that around this person is selling you something, and not, because the entire idea of that is the rumination is like, how you're making, and you need to get away or like minimize contact. And there's nothing wrong. Again, there's nothing wrong with you if you're ruminating. Rumination is a great thing to be curious about. Now, when I ruminate, I'm like, where is the harmful person and how far away can I get? Because I don't want to ruminate. It's painful. It creates neural pathways that are very bad for us.
Right.
And it's not yours.
Right. And it's not, the energy is not yours. Absolutely. Speaking of which, the next subject, which Lisa knows absolutely nothing about, so I'm super excited. I'm going full BravoCon now. So before Carlo and I were moving, we got into Vanderpump Rules. Obviously, it was the Scandival last year. Lisa has no idea what I'm talking about. So I watched Vanderpump Rules. I stopped watching, and then Scandival happened last year. So of course, then I had to go back. And then Carla, I need to watch it from the beginning. He did not. He started at season 6. But anyway, so then he was like, we got to the end, and now he was sad. So I was like, well, I think the second best terrible reality Bravo show is Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, the original Real Housewives. Kyle Richards, Lisa, is acting out this season so much of what we talk about. I need you to know who Kyle Richards is. So you said you watched Real Housewives of Beverly Hills at some point?
In the beginning. I mean, I was a Bravo person.
Okay.
Back in
Do you remember
day.
Kim Richards?
I don't know anyone's name.
What
did she do?
She was blonde. That's not helpful. She she may I think she would say herself that she may have had an alcohol and pill issue during some of those seasons.
Okay.
So Kyle and Kim Richards are the younger half sisters of Kathy Hilton, who is Paris Hilton and Nikki Hilton's mother.
We're going to need a genogram.
Kyle Richards was on Little House on the Prairie when she was little. She was also in the original Halloween movie with Jamie Lee Curtis. Okay. So it's like Hollywood millionaire not royalty, it's not like Marilyn Monroe, but it's like there's a lot of inroads, there's a lot of ins and outs. Kyle Richards is Paris Hilton and Nikki Hilton's aunt.
Okay.
Got all that? Okay.
Got it. Yes.
So Kyle Richards has been on for a long, long, long time. I don't know how many seasons now, but a lot. She had, in this season, she is, I think 53, 54, whatever. She is like, I am done. And it is so refreshing. She stopped drinking, which is great because all of them are always drunk on that show. And they're always just like,
That's why she's done. That's
yeah.
what sobriety ruins you. You're just like, I'm done.
Totally.
That's what happened to me. I was like, oh, I'm done with everything now.
I'm even more done than when I was drunk all the time. Yeah.
I have to take up pickleball. I'm so done with everything. Like, what is that?
Well, yes. So she is, and I have such a fucked up relationship with Andy Cohen, who just gets women drunk on television and makes millions of dollars over it. He is so exploitive and terrible. And I watch it. So she's like realizing that so she got married and had a baby when she was in her late teens, and then got divorced, and then immediately married this guy who is a very powerful millionaire real estate mogul, had 3 more kids. I just feel like she is at a point where I feel like a lot of us women hopefully get to, which is like, what has my whole life been about? I have been a mother and I have been a wife, and that is it. And she like got sober. Her husband was busy all the time. He like is kind of he's fine, whatever, but he seems like kind of a useless idiot, even though he makes millions of dollars. Her best friend took her own life. Her husband is gone all the time. Like, and she is just over all of it. The thing that's the most satisfying to watch / horrifying to watch is that the other women cannot wrap their mind. They cannot, they're all in the cult, right? They're all like, oh, but what's going on with your husband? Is everything okay with your husband? Did your husband cheat on you? What's going on with your marriage? But and Kyle's like, what do you care? And Kyle's just like getting up. I mean, she is working out a lot and like she's on a fitness journey, but that happens when people get sober. That's fine. But she's at least taking autonomy of her body. She's getting tattoos. She's hanging out with this like young country singer, maybe a queer woman. I would assume that this Morgan Wade is not Morgan Wade. Morgan Wade is a male country singer. Her name is Morgan, maybe not, whatever. She's hanging out with this young woman who's like covered in tattoos and like doesn't give a shit. And she's so not Beverly Hills. She's like from a trailer park in Virginia. And Kyle is
so relatable.
It's so great.
So relatable. Except for the millions of dollars.
But it's so great. And I like every episode, I'm like, get it, Kyle, get it. Because she has no time for any of it. And the other women are just baffled. They are baffled by it. And it's so fascinating to watch. Have I told you that I have a dream of teaching like psychological anthropology, social work classes about Vanderpump Rules and Real Housewives? Because I feel like it would be fascinating.
You should do that. There's Taylor Swift classes now. Right? There's Dolly Parton classes. And I'm sold. What do I watch? I watch The Housewives or I watch the Vanderpump. What do I watch?
Either one.
See this woman on this journey.
This season of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I think you could watch it. If you don't have to watch the rest. It's like soap opera. Like if you miss several seasons, you won't miss.
I want to see this woman because here's what just occurred to me.
Yeah.
I have like women in my practice and in my life, and they're like, how do people come up to me because I'll say the shit. I mean, I'm like the person that'll say this stuff. And they're like, how do you do it? You're so brave. I should just be like, stop drinking. Stop drinking. That's the treatment plan. If you want to be the woman that's like, I don't give a fuck anymore. I got no fun. And you can't find your voice.
Yeah.
Stop drinking because literally something happens about a year or 2 later where you're just like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, what? And I have experienced that. Everybody looking at you like, what? And you're just, it's probably why we started talking. Because I was like, Paula, nobody makes sense to me anymore.
Yeah.
Paula's weird. Let me call Paula. Maybe.
Right?
That's what happened to her. She got sober and now she can see everything. And it's a trip.
And she has 0 fucks anymore. And I just feel like she is like, and no one can handle the horrible thing. And it shows me about like all the women who vote for Trump and white feminists and all of it. It's like, as my mother would say, they're so over-identified with the aggressor. They're so over-identified with the cult of like, I just need a man. And we're going to talk about this, right? I need a man to love me. I need to look pretty. And Kyle is a gorgeous woman, right? Like she doesn't have to worry about that. But like everything else is like, she is so baffling to them. And it is fantastic to watch. They cannot stand it. There's one woman in particular, this woman Sutton, who's from the
Because she's
South.
a mirror. She's showing
Uh-huh.
them all the things.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so satisfying. Never in a million years did I think that I would get like satisfaction in a feminist rage perspective from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But like, get it, Kyle. Good for you.
Yeah, get it. We should do an episode on women and alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
I think we should do that. I don't judge the drinking, but
I'm not
part
sober.
of what we're discovering about why women drink, some of why women drink, is because of the pain of patriarchy.
Yes.
And that to sustain that, you need to not be here. And I got sober not understanding that.
That you would feel the pain of patriarchy more.
Yeah, it was like I had a medical issue, and so I was like, "Oh, I'll just stop drinking." And then it was like, "Oh, the patriarchy is everywhere. I can't take it." And nobody
talk about what
helps you that.
Talk about what helps you tolerate the intolerable, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't judge it, but it's worth talking about. I love this. I'm gonna watch this.
Watch this season. It's fast, and all the eating stuff is crazy too because they're all on some kind of Ozempic of some sort, and then they're always accusing the other one of not eating enough, and it's like none of you white ladies eat. Are you kidding? None of you have eaten a carb since 1975. But sure, she's not eating, or it's so fascinating, and they're all drinking constantly. I'm like, this woman has no food in her stomach, and then it's fascinating. Highly recommend.
I'm
10 out of 10.
here. I will report back on my take on this. We'll do
on
a
Kyle
follow-up.
Richards. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So the last thing in our chit chat, we want to talk about the Twin Flames documentary, which will transition us into talking about couples. So you watched it first, right?
This is why I don't watch The Real Housewives. Is I have watched every cult documentary on Netflix or any other platform because it is part of how I deinstitutionalized from my cultopy.
Yeah.
And found compassion for myself. Is I have watched every cult documentary that there is, including that one.
I really love the way you said that because my life partner tends to be like, how do people get into this? And I'm like, girl, the United States of America is a cult. The patriarchy is a cult. Whiteness is a cult. The idea that thinness is the cult of
drinking
thinness.
is a cult.
Drinking is a cult. Like, don't pretend like you're not in a cult, bitch, because we're all in a cult. So I love the way you said that. Yes. And I think that's what it does tap into us. Because then I think it does both. It does a little bit of like, how could this happen? And then you're like, I could probably that. And specifically this one, because it, like we're about to talk about when we talk about couples therapy, the cult of, like Kyle Richards. I don't know if they still do this to women, but I assume they do. Women are brainwashed to believe the pinnacle of their life is to get a man to fall in love with you, which, by the way, I don't fault women for. And also, I think of myself as the women ancestors that I didn't have to find a man to fall in love with me, right? My mom couldn't get a credit card. My mom could, right? Like my mom was born in 1946. She had to make a man fall in love with her, or else she would die of starvation. So that's okay. It's not okay, but like that makes sense. But then this creepy, awful predator turned it into a cult around finding this idea of your twin flame. And it's fascinating that only he has the power to tell you whether or not someone is your twin flame or is not your twin flame.
Doesn't his partner, to the wife, doesn't she also get a say?
I don't think I think she is there, but I don't think she I forget what her name, some weird name that she made up. I don't think she gets to say whether or not somebody is your twin flame. I think Jeff.
What I loved was how, people I think watch that and think this is so far out. Like this is so, and I'm like,
is it?
Because it's these guys are horrible.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is an interesting idea that you take a functional, highly functional, overachieving, like attractive woman. And then he's like, oh, you belong with this like drug dealer, dangerous, like
this guy's in jail.
Yeah, this guy is in jail and they're all low functioning. And I'm like, is this not kind of what we have been sold a little bit? Maybe not that extreme, but this idea of like a man can underfunction, underperform, underdeliver. I'm like, this is the delusion. I grew up in the 80s. Isn't this every movie I was told to watch
Oh my
was
God,
I have to
totally.
reform this man, and my love is going to reform him.
Yes.
And only if I'm good enough will he become good. And my
Absolutely.
value is based on the extent to which I can reform him. Is that not
Right.
literally the plot of every movie I watched over?
Of course.
This isn't weird.
No.
I'm like, that makes total sense. That makes total sense that people are
Right.
buying into that.
For the twin flames, Dot, this cult leader, was he like a couples therapist or something? Or
They
No.
framed no, he was just a dude like hanging out, and I think he had no way to make money. He was just off in the woods, right?
He was
And
in
they
Hawaii or some
framed
shit. Yeah.
themselves as like he had an epiphany, a spiritual epiphany,
As one does.
and they decided they were relationship coaches. He met
Okay.
this woman who I think they're both like highly malignant, narcissistic. And they were like, I don't remember the exact, but he was just like, oh, now we're couples coaches, and we're going to do it by telling you who you're with. And no matter if every ounce of your body is like, I don't like this person,
because
your
not
fulfillment. Yeah.
you're not working hard enough, you're not loving him enough, you're not, and even if he is abusing you. And one woman was with a guy who had severe schizoaffective disorder and was having severe episodes, and the cult leader was like, well, I wonder if it's because you're not loving him enough.
I'm like, we can watch this and think it is completely out there, but I'm like, you distill down what's happening psychologically. And then you start to ask yourself, at least as a Gen X woman, like,
right,
was I not trained in some of this?
Absolutely. The guy is just capitalizing on what we have been taught. And I love that he had several other, from what I remember, he had several other like guru money making nonsense, wellness, white people shit before this one, but this is the one that took. And I was like, isn't that fascinating? And he's younger than us, right? He's like in his 30s. So
they're very young.
And a lot of the women were our age, we're Gen X women. And they're like, oh yes, 30-year-old man without a formal education. Please tell me but isn't that all of this? That's what women are taught. If I just find the right guy, then all of my dreams will come true. Then my life will be worth living. Then I will have proven that my existence is worthy of love and belonging. That is everything that we're taught.
It's the key, because that's the whole like spiritual, that's the weird, is this idea of like, this is bliss. Like you're right. It's like relationships and marriage. They're not, I mean, first of all, though, it's, so it's like, on the one hand, I'm supposed to believe this is going to create my emotional bliss. This person will heal all of my inner wounds, right? Blah, blah, blah. Also, marriage evolved as a transaction financially.
Yes.
Like, and how does that, right? Like, clearly these are myths that are established. Marriage is currently a financial like, get married if you want lower taxes and health insurance.
That's it.
Like, it's
right.
I don't understand.
Okay. I feel like we're just getting into it. We're just getting right into it. So let's talk about couples therapy. And when we say couples therapy, we don't necessarily mean couples, because maybe you're not a couple, maybe you're a throuple, maybe you're a thing. And also, second disclaimer, the way we're going to talk about it will sound exceedingly heteronormative. And I don't want that to be the case. And it is my experience that when someone is queer, when somebody is married or partnered with someone of the same gender, of a non-gendered person, of a gender fluid person, the shit that we're talking about gets in no matter what. And I've worked with so many gay couples, so many queer couples over the years. I am not a straight person, but that doesn't mean I'm not victim to all of this nonsense. I wish it was that, God, if it was just that you could identify as queer and all of this would disappear, that would be amazing. But that doesn't seem to be the case, not yet.
Well, and it speaks to how there's probably nothing wrong with us, because if you see some weird phenomenon happening to everyone, this is what I started watching. I'm like, these are weird patterns,
right?
That like, I don't like get mad at you. I'm like, oh, I'm doing everything, and Paula's not doing anything for the podcast, and and I, you know what I'm like. This is strange. I don't do, I mean, and granted, I don't intimately share my life with anyone else. So that, but I'm like, this is interesting that like roommates, friends.
Yes.
These dynamics no one is even conscious. I don't know. I'm like, there's something going on, and I don't think it's us. I don't think it's me or
I
my
don't think it's
husband.
us. And the bean counting, right? I have so many clients that talk about that. They're like, I can't stop myself from doing the bean counting of he did this and I didn't do that and blah, blah, blah. So when I say he, she, blah, 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 please ignore the pronouns as usual, because pronouns are nonsense. And also know that like all of these energies, these programs, these indoctrinations, to use your word, Lisa, like they happen to us all regardless of gender. But I do know that, as I said before, women have been taught that the pinnacle of our life is to find a man and make sure that he wants to fuck us all the time, and then convince him, cajole him, recruit him into marrying us. And that is the pinnacle of our existence. We're also taught, paradoxically, that we're never allowed to upset him. So here we have done a thing where we have recruited and cajoled this man into wanting to fuck us all the time and then marrying us. Then we're never allowed to upset him. Then he won't do anything because it turns out the men have also been brainwashed to believe by their parents that she will do all the things. And that is just the way it's going to work out, even though since 1970s, women are the expectations of us and our life and what we do and what we can accomplish and what we are expected to do has changed astronomically. For men, it's been the same for centuries. It's absolutely the same. The entire system is built on white men going and earning money while brown people and women and other people do all of the work. That's how this is. But that system still exists. We're just women and brown people and everybody's trying to exert themselves into it, and it's not working. And then you're supposed to be blissed out because you found your twin flame, and that's supposed to be fucking amazing.
Does the twin flame do all the laundry automatically? Is that part?
That's
I mean,
how you
I'll go
know.
look for mine. I'll call the guy if that's the deal. If the twin flame does all the domestic labor,
Does
I'll
he
go find
always
mine.
empty the dishwasher? Because then I
Yeah.
have not found my twin flame. I've been with the wrong person for 18 years. Yeah. The first thing I want to say is I know that I am an like annoying, radical, queer woman from Northern California. So when I say all this stuff, I don't want to instill any shame or shoulds into women who really want a partner. Like that is not what we're saying. We are not saying that you shouldn't want that. Because I've had that, right? I've had female clients come to me and they're like, but I did. Yeah, they're like ashamed to tell me that they do want a husband.
It's
And I'm
almost like bodies now where women
Right.
feel bad. I just had a whole group of women feeling bad talking about how they feel bad about their bodies because now they're like, I'm not supposed to want. And
I can't
I'm
hate
like,
my fat
oh
body
my
anymore.
God,
Yeah.
you still live on the planet.
Right.
You still live here.
Right.
Like we are affected. And I was a woman for decades who wanted a partner, like, and was told, by the way, in therapy that I didn't have one because I wasn't wearing enough high heels. So that was my treatment plan, was to wear high heels and
Ooh, that
maybe a
sounds-
little more touch of makeup. And I I required none of those to actually find my husband. But yeah, it is hard to do life in America by yourself.
Yes.
And it is hard to do life in America with a partner. And I think we
Yes.
have this idea that, oh, once I achieve, there's this weird also mismatch. Once I have the partner, everything will be fine. But also I have to sign up for this lifetime of like the trope of the nagging and the whatever.
Oh God.
But I'm supposed to be happy while I do that. It's supposed to be blissful. It doesn't feel very it's like,
No.
it makes none of it makes any sense. That's what we're going to talk about.
And so, yeah, I want to say, like, if you are a woman and you do not have a partner and you have a deep desire to have a partner, that's great. I don't want to shame you. Again, like the only question that matters in therapy is what do you want? That is the only question that matters. I want you to be curious about what it is you want. I also want you to be curious about what you expect.
And the reality.
Exactly. Because if you do partner with a cis man, great, and it will not suddenly make your life a million times better. It won't solve all that ails you, and you were never incomplete, right? It was never the problem was never you and your aloneness. And if you want somebody to share your life with, that's great. And I am 1,000% on board with that. The issue that I see is that female identifying people get with male identifying people. We've done it. This is it. This is the achievement of our entire lifetime. And then we can't upset them. And then we're in a constant state of this internal, like, again, the ruminating. How do I say it so that I can get him to help me, but also never, ever, ever allow him to get upset, because I can't upset him, because that means I'm a bad wife if I upset him. And I have had so many sessions with women who are married to men where the entire session is them trying to get me to tell them the magic way of saying the thing that will make him be very helpful, very eager to be helpful, very open to receiving feedback about how helpful he is. I'm like, girl, I'm not a magician. This is centuries of indoctrination around gender roles that you are asking me to solve around in vocabulary.
Well, and we practice you practice at least halfway in Washington, D.C. I practice here.
Yeah.
And the population here is quite educated that you and I work with. The men here typically speak English quite fluently. Many of them are paid to communicate in English. They are paid many dollars to communicate in English.
Fucking lawyers.
And
yeah.
This is sort of like Terry Real talks about this, but I've been doing this before Terry Real taught me, I will say. This idea of like, it's weird how your husband can communicate so effectively in every other sphere of his life.
Right.
And then you need to suddenly figure out these magical fairy dust configurations of words to get him to hear something that you've said 5,000 times.
Right.
And I was in a couples therapy like this, and it was always, well, Lisa, you have to say it right.
Yes.
And I was like, I've said it calmly many, many times. I've asked nicely. I've changed could, would, should, like they say you're supposed to, because these are somehow stupid dogs that respond to, or I don't even know.
Right.
And then I'm like, and then, yes, there was some irritability. And then, I tried crying, and then I tried screaming, and then I, tried it's like, and then I tried not speaking. Well, not speaking is stonewalling. You can't do that. And it's like, well, okay. And then it's constantly like, but did you try vulnerability, Lisa? Did you try?
Right?
Like,
the emotional labor and the gymnastics and the contorting. I just want him.
I don't have to work that hard to get you. If I need something from you, Paula, I don't ever have to say it more. Like, I just ask and you say yes or no. And then it's not that with any woman I've ever met, it's not that hard.
No, turns out. Yes. Right. So my advice is, it is my experience, and I'm not saying that everybody should do this, because I would never say such a thing. How could I be so arrogant as to think I know what everybody should do? But one thing you might want to try is, if you are a female identified person who is partnered with a male identified person, you may want to be lovingly curious about the stories you have in your body and consciousness around upsetting the man. And maybe, and I understand that there is actual ancestral trauma in there, because if you are a female identifying person, you for sure have a woman in your ancestry who was murdered by a man. That is impossible that didn't happen. And it might be interesting to investigate how much energy you're putting into making sure he's never upset. He's allowed to be upset, and you can tolerate that. I once said this out loud. This happens to you, right? I say something out loud in a session, and then I'm like, I should write that down. That if women were taught to tolerate the first 10 minutes after saying something upsetting to a man, we might run the whole world. If we could just tolerate those first 10 minutes after saying, I've asked you to put your shit away 10 times and you refuse to do that, and I don't know why, and it's making me upset. And if he gets upset, like, just tolerate it. It's okay. Everyone's going to be okay. That internal thing of like, I can't upset him, I think that keeps people stuck for centuries.
It's the most powerful couples tool I have now is, well, how do I make him not get defensive? I'm like, you don't.
No.
You're going to handle it.
Yes.
The defensiveness is his.
Yes.
It's not yours. And unless you are, unless there is abuse or something really scary, it's just a feeling.
Yes.
And neither of you are going to die.
And you don't have
no
to
one is going to die.
Exactly.
But I understand. I mean, it was the most, I remember when I started doing this in my marriage and like being more grounded and like, well, if this isn't happening, I'm going to respond authentically. I'm not going to
Yes.
force myself to be the good wife. And there's gonna, but I remember visceral reactions
Yeah.
in my body,
Yeah.
like, and having to sit there and breathe and be like, I am allowed to do something that he does not like or does not want or will disappoint
Yeah.
him, because it is a trap. It is a
Yes.
psychological trap, and it
Yes.
is in our body.
Yes.
And so that's what I work now. I mean, a lot of couples, it is about like, how do you ask like respectfully, and how do, and there's
Yeah,
many,
of course.
and some
Don't
of
be
that
a dick
people need
about
those
it.
skills.
Sure.
I needed those skills. Great. Fine.
Sure.
And you can often ask very respectfully and you're still not going to get what you want. And it's like,
Yes.
then what's the next level beyond the
Right.
nagging? And that's why women get scared, because the
Right.
nagging is if I'm nagging, I have no power.
Right.
And then he gets to do the trope that we all watched on 80s sitcoms over,
A million times.
like the next step of, I'm angry.
I'm a
And
person.
yeah, explain to me why this isn't happening.
Yeah.
Or no, I don't want to hang out with you Friday night, actually, because I'm really angry. Be like any kind of like, no, I'm actually going out with my girlfriends because I'm not really liking you very much. That next step
Yes.
is the part where it's like, we have to be able to tolerate the like unhappiness that
Totally.
he's not gonna die.
He'll be fine.
He's gonna survive. And maybe he'll be like, well, I would like my wife to hang out with me on Friday night. And,
Okay.
not that everything is about minute, but it's like, maybe he'll have some thoughts about like, how am I showing up here? Is this how I want to
Yes.
show up? Like, what relationship do I wish to contribute to?
Yes.
Because guess what? It's not all my job.
Yes.
It's not all the woman's job to make it. Figuring that out
Right.
was so helpful for my marriage. We are both much happier once I was like, oh, I don't have to do all this. You're here too.
Right. And I can expect you to be a grown-up with me. And when I expect you to be a grown-up with me, sometimes I'm mad at you because you're not showing up. And that's okay. And you'll live through that. Yeah.
Or then maybe he's liberated to say, you know what, I'm not going to do. This is the thing that kills me.
Yeah.
The men that will not just be like, I'm never going to do that.
I'm never going to pick up
That's
myself.
not a thing.
Yeah.
Because they think we're going to die if they say that.
Right.
So a lot of the couples work I do is getting men to be like, you know what? That's
Yeah.
never going to happen. And guess
Right.
what? Then you can start problem solving or dealing with it or grieving it or whatever you need to do, rather than doing this nonsense nagging cycle.
Resentful.
Jesus.
Yes. Lisa, I'm going to read you something and I want you to guess who said it.
Okay.
Okay. For centuries, we were just expected to absorb male behavior silently. And oftentimes, when we, in our enlightened and emboldened state, now respond to bad male behavior or somebody just doing something that's absolutely out of line, and we respond, that response is treated like the offense itself. There's been situations recently with someone who's very guilty of this in my life, and it's a person who makes me feel or tries to make me feel like I'm the offender by having any kind of defense to his offenses. It's like I have absolutely no right to respond, or I'm crazy. I have no right to respond, or I'm the one who's angry. I have no right to respond, or I'm out of line. Do you want to know who said that?
I feel like it's somebody who knows a lot about narcissistic abuse, because I want to
Uh-huh.
say not every man doing this is
No.
a narcissist, but
Correct.
patriarchy and racism and white supremacy are narcissistic abuse, and they have those elements.
Colonialism. Yes.
And this is like Darvo. This is the reactive abuse part.
Correct.
Is it Debbie Mirza?
No, it's Taylor Swift.
Shut the F up.
It's your girl.
Shut up. Are you serious?
I'm serious. You're welcome.
I am shocked. You know what I always say? I'm like, she is an expert on narcissistic
She
abuse
gets
based
it.
on my analysis of her songs.
Well, and in my analysis of knowing everything a celebrity has ever done and knowing every man that a celebrity has ever dated, that's how I know Taylor Swift is every man she's ever dated. She is an expert on
She's probably
narcissists.
dated that guy that was mean to what's her name?
Ah.
Rachel, Rebecca. She's probably dated that guy.
I don't
She
think
is a
she's
freaking. That's Taylor Swift.
Yes.
I was like, is it Esther Perel? Is it
right? She knows what she's talking about.
Wow.
That girl knows what she's talking about. Go off, Taylor. Go off.
Snap. Where was that? What is that in? People?
I saw it on a.
It's not in People.
I saw it in. It's not in People magazine. Can you imagine? That would be
Like,
amazing.
People would be like,
housewives everywhere, like burning it. That's amazing. No, it was not in People. I don't know. It was a interview that I saw, and I was like, "This bitch knows what's up." And then I just found it written out to read to you.
that was like such a nice present. I never in a million years.
You're
Not in a million years would I have thought. I was like, what feminist? Like,
What incredible
deep
feminist
thinker.
theorist.
I was
I
like, what?
know.
Well, and then I was going to go down the domestic violence experts route.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, it's somebody is it the woman who invented Darvo? Did they like name Darvo?
I mean, she's obviously done some reading. Good for her.
Good for her. Good.
Yeah.
Nice. Taylor.
So, and that brings me to the third point, my point, which is the myth of achievement mythology around coupledom, that there is something to achieve. Bitch, there is nothing to achieve.
No.
This is all marketing. This is all capitalism. This is all the commodification of perfection. This is all colonialism, white supremacist nonsense, that like there is something to achieve and we're not. Now, if you and your partner are very unhappy and you are hitting some bumpy parts, okay, fantastic. But like this idea that that you know, in the hierarchy of humans, the hierarchy of coupledom, that some people have the good one and we can work, right? This is all capitalism. We can work and we can earn and we can prove that we have the best coupleness and we are the most connected coupleness. And it's all so gross. And I think a lot of it, the thing about the apps, right? And like dating on the apps, and that you can, it's like shopping on Amazon, right? Like, oh, that, you know, that vest doesn't have the exact thing I want. So I want a little bit. And I know I sound like a fucking grandma right now, but like that is a little bit of it, that there might be something better. There might be something better and there's something to achieve. But there is nothing to achieve. If you enjoy spending time with this person and you guys have fun being the most important thing in a relationship. If you're not having fun, what the fuck are you doing?
Unless you have children, there is, if you have small children, there is a gap window in which nothing will be fun. And that is perfectly fine.
Yes.
Caveat.
True. Oh, caveat. Yes. True. I mean, even Barack and Michelle talks about how she hated him for 10 years. Yes, absolutely. But like in terms of like the other people have a better coupleness and you can work hard and you can achieve that coupleness, that is all marketing, you guys. Nobody's having
Can you
more fun
imagine
than
if
you.
we were like, Paula, we have to go to couples therapy to have the best friendship, and our friendship
I would be like, I
it's
gotta go.
weird. And therapists, let me tell you something. Also, like
So weird.
therapists go to like people who run groups together are told to go to like couples therapy as their group leadership.
Yes.
Like people are and it's like, and let me tell you something. You put two people together, you can find a problem.
Of course.
Like so it just because every time, if you've ever had this repeated phenomenon of I go into couples therapy and I feel pretty good about things and I leave and I feel really shitty, if it's not because your partner is like unhappy and you don't know it or whatever, but it's like you're both like, oh, things are okay, and you leave hating each other, possibly a flag. Because like I have couples that come in for couples therapy and they're like, things are good. And I'm like, great, let's not dig up any shit. Let's talk about what's going well. What are
Yeah.
you liking about each other? What's working? Let's reinforce that.
Yes.
Let's not, but any two people I can make miserable if I want to.
Oh, sure.
Using,
If you want their
and so
money.
yeah, just because you're going and you're like, oh, we do keep fighting. That's not, you do not have to go until the couples therapy hits Perfectionville.
Yes.
That's not the
No.
idea. Like it's
No.
no,
it's not.
Go
And
have some
sometimes-
ice cream, see a movie.
Right.
It's fine.
Totally. Oh my God. When was the last time you had fun together? When was the, you know? Yeah, absolutely. So there's nothing to achieve. Now, if you are miserable and the other person is miserable, then break up. That's fine. I'm not advocating that people stay in miserable relationships for no reason. But like, if nothing is wrong, let nothing be wrong. Lord have mercy.
Yeah. And obviously this is very we're simplifying something
Yes.
complicated, but we want to address this idea that the
there's
principle of relationships is work, and that it's
Right.
supposed to be, and we have to
Work.
be, it really can be much more pragmatic, because the point of a relationship should be to enhance your life, share
Yes.
responsibilities, have somebody go on some adventures, whatever you want it to be. That's the
And
other
it's-
thing.
And it's
It
growth.
can be whatever formation you want it to be.
And it's
Like-
growth, right? Like the only reason to be in a relationship is to grow. That is the all, and some of that is quote unquote work, not in I hate the word, but in a way that like you want to, right? The entire point of being in a relationship is to love yourself more, is to give yourself more space, is to look in the eyes of this person and be like, you are so annoying and I love you. And I know that I'm annoying sometimes and I love me. And no matter what, I give myself permission to be whoever the fuck. And you guys keep giving that to each other, keep giving that to each other. And nobody is having more fun than you. Nobody has something that you don't have. You can have that. But it really is like just loving and being kind and being gentle and being compassionate. And like you said, Lisa, like being curious, right? That like not projecting all of my raging, seething, annoying feminism all over him when he doesn't empty the dishwasher. I can be like, sweetheart, can you empty the dishwasher? And then he can say, don't tell me what to do. And then I say, I'm the boss of your entire life. So
yeah, but
do
at
what I
least
say.
you're having like a direct, and I feel like this is something we will return to because we've covered like, 2/3 or maybe even a tiny fraction of the many things we have to say.
Yeah.
I do want to say in the primer episode on couples therapy,
Yes.
before we wrap, not all couples therapy is feminist and anti-patriarchal.
Yes.
And I didn't know this. I did not know this until I was researching for a workshop I'm giving. And I was like, there's feminist
I
couples
love your
therapy?
polo. Did you know that there's feminist couples therapy?
They don't tell us this. I
No, they
learned
don't.
one of them on a podcast. I was like, there's a whole, so you can ask a couples therapist, are you feminist? Are you
Mhm.
anti-patriarchal? Because let me tell you, the stuff you may hear, the high heel story is just the tip of the iceberg
Oh, totally.
of the ways that you can be gaslit in therapy, especially as a woman, not entirely.
Especially by women.
Yes. Oh, especially. I mean, both, but especially.
Yes.
But like, ask your therapist, like, where are you on feminism, anti-patriarchy? Who are the theorists you're informed by? Like,
Yes.
what is your position on neutrality?
Yes.
You ask that. And the position should be neutrality is not helpful in couples therapy.
Right.
Ask and see what you get. And if I'm always neutral, I never take side. No, run away,
No.
run away far. Some behavior deserves taking sides. Sometimes David is the bad guy. Sometimes it's me. And somebody needs to tell you, you are being a bit of an asshole right now.
Right.
So this whole, no, don't do that. It can be very dangerous and not helpful.
Did
So,
I ever
just
tell you the
FYI.
story? Yes, I love all of that. About when I was seeing a white male who was married to a white woman, and he came to me and he literally just whatever. He literally just listed out all of his expectations for her and why and how he was so angry because she was not meeting his expectations. And I was like, has anyone ever told you that your expectations are your problem? And he was like, what? I was like, expectations are premeditated resentments, bruh. And he was like, what? Like, he could not, like, we don't know. And then we shower it all over everybody and we're not communicating it. And also, yes, your expectations are your problem. And you're
Also, did she ever sign a contract saying that she would meet all those
Oh, right,
expectations? At any
exactly.
point, did she say, oh, yes, I aspire? Was there ever a discussion
about
or
what
were
the
these
agreements
secret?
were. Totally. Yes. That's the first couple. I think I told you the story that remember that show, remember the first season of Big Little Lies? And remember the therapist from Big Little Lies? Nicole Kidman's character is being beaten the shit out of by Alex Skarsgård's character. And the therapist in the show was like, she was like so cut and dry. And it was like, it was revolutionary. She was like, you're getting an apartment. You're moving out. This is it. It was so great. I was like, this is the first time there's been a therapist on screen where I'm like, she's doing her job correctly.
I want to do an episode on TV therapists and how they are normally so
atrocious.
That's the only story I've heard about a good one.
Well, and I
That-
watched that episode and then I went in the next day and I was seeing this guy and this woman and I just said, you guys should get a divorce.
Yeah.
And then they never came back. It was great. It was
Let's
perfect.
put us all out of our misery.
Right. So the couple more things I want to touch on before we end. Sex. I want to talk about sex in the sense that we are insane. And I love that we live in this weird culture where we are so sex obsessed and then also so puritanical and white about sex. And like, nobody should watch porn. Everyone's addicted to porn. And like, we're just so weird about it. And then couples come in and they're like, we're not having sex enough. And he wants it. Da, 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 da. And sex therapists can be so insane about how often you should be having it. And if you're not having it enough, it's obviously not. I remember being in a group of therapists and we were discussing a client and one of the my fellows, one of my colleagues was like, well, are they having sex? I was like, I don't know. Like that hasn't come up. And she's like, I can't believe you even asked that. And I'm like, I mean, okay, but like, just back off a little bit. Like, calm the fuck down. I just want to say, like, your sex life is yours. There is no prescriptive number of times you have to have sex with your partner in order for it, again, under the achievement thing. This is all like Western American school nonsense that we've been indoctrinated that like, if you don't have sex this number of times a month, then you're doomed and you're definitely, and we're not doing it right. And we're not doing it right. And we're not doing it right. And it's like, you guys get to do whatever you want. Do you know that RuPaul does not have sex with his husband? He
Did not know that.
loves his husband, and his husband has sex with other people. I'm not sure if it's all men or some women. I have no idea. And RuPaul says, if I love this person more than anyone, why would I stop him from having the most pleasure he can have in his life? I do not. And he says, I don't really enjoy sex. He's like, especially after I turned 60, I don't really need that in my life anymore, but I love him and I want him to have as much sex as he wants. And it was like so expansive and beautiful and simple. And I was like, go off, Mama Ru.
Are you saying that there is nothing wrong with RuPaul? Is that what you're saying? Maybe there's nothing wrong.
I mean, I do have notes for RuPaul in other ways, but in this way, yes, I just think that's so great. So I just want to say, you and your partner can have sex as often as you want, as unoften as you want. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything.
And first of all, this is a place where you want really anti-patriarchal, feminist informed therapy because it can get weird.
So weird.
If that's a whole other episode. But I think also that this is such an important tool because it's like if sex isn't happening, both people would like it to be happening, or someone would, and it does come up. What an interesting question about, why do you not want to have sex? What's going on?
In the way? Yeah.
What gets in the way? Oh, you're so angry at him because he's not emptying the dishwasher that you can't even look at him, much less have sex with him? And a lot of anti-patriarchal whatever will start working on that anger. No. Do not work on, how do you calm that? How can you, no. Would you, I don't know, do you want to have sex? Is emptying the dishwasher worth you having sex?
Exactly.
Because it seems that is going to make her body more I mean, like it's
totally
not rocket science, but there's a lot of therapy that'll start working that anger and trying to get that anger to go down.
Getting the woman
and get that woman's body to, when she is saying very clearly what the issue is, and we can believe her.
Yes.
Because I mean, it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
The machinations I have seen therapists go through to make that dishwasher not the issue and keep you in therapy for 10 years trying to work on that woman's anger, which is just growing and growing and growing and growing.
And she will never have sex with him after
women want to have sex.
Twice.
Yeah, we want to have sex when the dishwasher is emptied by someone else. I really would like having sex with my husband when he makes dinner.
Yes.
You can explain it.
Well,
I appreciate that.
As exhausted. Turns out.
Well, what I've realized is having a wife, no wonder, I have this theory. I made a stand-up thing about this. I think male libidos might be higher because they have wives.
Amen.
This is my new theory. They have I would be very attracted to someone who was doing everything I want. Like, it's amazing. Like, being
wanna
cared
work.
for is a turn on.
Yes.
Imagine.
Imagine.
Empty the fucking dish.
1000%. But also that brings me to the thing that like sex, because we're so weird and we love it and we hate it and we're so right, all these things about it, we forget that there's so many ways to be intimate, to express intimacy, to feel intimate with a person. And if you and your partner, if sex is not the thing that's happening right now, that doesn't mean that you have to break up or that you're doomed or that like, no, you guys don't want to be together anymore. It doesn't have to be a death sentence. And the more you make it into a death sentence and get anxious about being a death, I mean, talk about the like least sexy thing in the world is being so fucking freaked out because you're not having sex enough. Like, that's not hot. It's not
Well, and
sexy.
it brings up that whole idea of what scares people of being anybody in therapy being told you have to break up with them.
Yes.
I mean, other than that extreme
Never.
example that Paula gave, and it would take a lot for Paula to tell someone what to do. I know this. But
It's true.
other than that, like, that people have such a fear of you're going to tell me I have to break up with them. And
Yes.
I'm always like, that is not my decision. Like,
don't
if
get
I
to
think
do
you're
that.
in danger, I'm going to say something. I mean, that's going to be, but like, typically that's your call. And like,
Right. Who the hell
you're
am
like,
I?
is it working for you to have a lot of sex, not have a lot of sex? I don't know. I'm not you.
Exactly.
And there, people have these rigid ideas about, oh, if we're not, we're doomed. And that's not
that is
helpful.
No.
It's like, it's back to how are you experiencing this
Exactly.
in your existence, not what are the outer metrics. It all comes back to body liberation, Paula.
Exactly.
It's not the number
is
on
your-
the scale. It is
Right.
not the number of times you're having sex. How does your relationship feel?
Yes. If it feels better when you have sex every day, fabulous. If that
Great.
works. Well, and that brings me to my last point, which is you guys get to do whatever the fuck you want. If you're not hurting anyone, I don't care. And this is the thing that most people, and I think women get into it more than men, but I've had a lot of gay male clients that do the same thing. That all of the, like you just said, all of these external metrics of what makes our coupleness or partnership or thrupleness be successful. Like we are measuring our coupleness on the same metrics that we use for like our bank account and other capitalistic nonsense. You guys get to create whatever you want. And if it works for you two or you three or you four, however you're doing it, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what RuPaul thinks. It doesn't matter if it works for the two of you. There's the entity, if you're in a couple, there's the entity of my partner, there's the entity of me, and then the third entity is the partnership. And we get to create it, and we get to create it every day, and we get to get rid of things that no longer work, and we get to agree to new things that do work, and every day, and if it works for the two of us, that's the only thing that matters. And I can't tell you how revolutionary that is when I tell people that, because they're like admitting things to me. Well, he doesn't really like to have sex on Tuesdays. And I'm like, okay. They're like waiting for me to be like, oh, well, that's just a tick on the mind. I don't know. It's just a B- now. Right. And it's like, okay, I don't give a shit.
And what I love is the young people. I have so many now young
Yeah.
women and not that much younger than me, 5 years, 10 years. I don't know. They're not that young,
Yeah.
but they're figuring it out.
I
I'm
know.
loving it. They're like,
I know.
I'm looking at my married friends. It's not going great. I'm starting
don't
to
seem
think
happy.
maybe that arrangement. And I'm like, yes, say more. Say more about your observations. Because it used to be, I probably would have like gaslit them. And I mean, I wasn't married. I was like, oh, but that's what we all must strive for. And now it's like, say more about what you're observing.
Right.
How might you like to do a partnership? Perhaps you don't live together. Like perhaps there are so many ways to, you don't have to get on the conveyor belt and go into this box.
Right.
Let yourself observe. Because it is possible that what you're observing is that this structure is not great.
It's archaic.
It's not conducive
Yes.
to like healthy relating. Let yourself observe. If you're in your 20s, 30s, and there's no pressure about the, are you going to have kids or not? And let yourself pay attention to
Yeah.
what you were noticing about who's happy, who's not. How are they doing it? What's the levels of autonomy? Are they doing what their mom told them to do? Are they notice?
Yeah.
Notice.
I love all the polyamorous Gen Z babies.
Oh,
I love them
they are
so
like,
much.
I'm here for it.
Good
Here for it.
It seems so exhausting. I would never. I would never. But
We're too
good for
old,
you.
But good for you.
I'm so
Good for
tired.
you.
But good for you. Love it. Fantastic. All right, that was our episode. Well, our first episode, because let's be honest, we're gonna have to touch back on this because new things will come up and new things will come up in the media, and we'll talk about it again. But that was our episode on relational or couples, not relational therapy. That's something else, but relationships therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need a new name. We need a new name for it. Couples therapy is an outdated
It's
name.
archaic.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We need a new name. If you have a new name, send it to us. We will.
Please.
We will maybe get it out there.
Yeah. We want to say, please, 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 if you listen on Apple Podcasts, would you be so kind as to subscribe and give us some stars and maybe write a review? That would be amazing. If you love to look at our faces and you watch it or listen on YouTube, please also, you just press the thumbs up?
The like button.
The like button. And then
subscribe.
And subscribe. Those are two separate things, right?
Yes.
Like and subscribe.
Yes.
If you're
Please
not sure,
please do
ask
both.
an 8-year-old. My son. Explain.
True. If you don't know what we're talking about, ask anyone younger than you. And we're trying to come up with a cute goodbye catchphrase. Trust your gut.
Trust your gut is what we're going to use until we come up with something cuter.
Okay. So everybody, until we see you next time, trust your gut.
Trust your gut. See what happens.
Yeah. Fuck around to find out. Bye.